Okay, the goal of today is very simple. It is to make a video with slightly less complaining than yesterday. Yesterday I felt like I was just full of complaining and whining. And it's just, Christmas is coming up and it's not the type of person I want to be. Here's the idea for this video. I've been compiling I'll see little scenes, little things out in the world, and then I'll just write them down. And so this is gonna be a compilation of short stories. Well, short stories doesn't even do it justice because they're very, very short stories. Little moments, little funny things I see. It could be an ongoing series. It could not. We'll see. I saw that I'm up to 6 subscribers, which is a little worrying. I want to keep this channel as small as possible. I want it to be sort of a niche, sort of like, just the people who know. And, if I start getting up to 10, 20, 50 subscribers, I just don't want to deal with those levels of fame. I want to be able to just walk outside and just go on a walk and just be alone and not be bothered by people wanting to take selfies and whatnot. So if you are one of those 6 subscribers, just try not to share this, try not to tell anyone. We're trying to keep this on the low. Okay, story number 1. So I was on this walk, just walking down the street, a very sort of suburban street, just streets, not many cars, not much traffic. And I see this older woman up ahead, quite a bit older, at least retirement age. And she's sort of walking towards me, and then I see her sort of fall. It's not she doesn't fall over, but she sort of just collapses to the ground. She manages to sort of sit down. Like it's not a full fall, it's just like a collapse into a sit. So we're like, I wonder if she's all right. So I keep walking. I'm walking towards her anyways, and I just keep walking. And as I come up to her, she says, "Can you help me? I fell down and I can't get back up." And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, of course." So I help her up, and I think she says to me, "Oh, my house is just right down here." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll walk with you back to your house and make sure you're all right." And she was telling me that her toes were, I guess, chopped off. Chopped off is a bit of there's probably a more surgical way of saying that. Surgically removed. Some sort of operation. I don't know why that might be. It must be I don't know okay, to be honest, she seemed a little out of it. So I don't know if, well, now that I think about it, in the moment I was like, oh yeah, she chopped her toes off. Like, it's probably like I don't know, I was sort of thinking, like, doesn't diabetes have something to do with feet? Like, but now that I'm like saying it out loud, is that a thing, chopping toes off? Now I'm starting to question. I never bothered looking it up if it's a thing, and I don't think I'm gonna bother now. I sort of like holding on to that mystery. You don't have to Google everything. You can just have some things be mysteries. In any event, I digress. I walked her home. She was actually walking fine. And yeah, then she went into her little, it was kind of like a condo apartment type thing. And yep, that's the story. Was it good? Story number two. So this story takes place in a more crowded area. It was downtown. There were lots of people around, cars, pedestrians, traffic. And I look across the street and there's a girl sort of waiting and sort of looking at a car that's sort of coming in and kind of about to park. And so the car's coming in. It starts to, turn off of the road into the parking spot. And she ends up driving right. She just sort of like keeps going, and she just sort of doesn't stop. And she ends up driving right up onto the curb. You see the whole car sort of jerk back as like one wheel goes up. And at this point, I look in the car, and she seems to be maybe a younger driver, probably a new driver. And the girl who's looking at her is probably waiting for her, who's standing on the sidewalk. She just starts cracking up, like out of embarrassment and out of funniness and she just sort of does this thing where she starts like covering her face and sort of like does a 180. And it's, it's like this laughing 180. And she's just like, oh my gosh, let me just hide from this moment. I can't believe this is happening. My friend is such an idiot. And then after like 4 or 5 seconds, she sort of goes, I have to face this, don't I? People know. People are watching. I can't hide from this. And so still sort of laughing, she sort of turns back around. And then the girl backs her car back onto the street. And then they were just sort of talking to each other through the window. I wasn't sure. She never really parked the car. Yeah, the rest of it was, nothing really happened from there. They were just sort of talking. And I really should have waited to see if something else ridiculous were to transpire. But yeah, that was it. It was really funny to watch the friend sort of squirming. Like she didn't know what to do with her body. It was just like, like laughing and yet like, oh man. How do you drive up onto the curb? You're making me look ridiculous. And the girl driving was obviously just as embarrassed. Parking is not that easy, I remember when I first started driving, parking was like the worst nightmare. Like having to parallel park and like if there's people behind you or like trying to fit a car into a small spot, it's like, if that's going to be one of those things, 20, 30 years from now, all cars are just going to have that automatic, the car will just automatically park. And you'll have parents going, yeah, back in my day, you kids are so soft these days. Back in my day, we had to actually park the car. And it was wild. I mean, we'd drive up onto the curb, we'd hit the car behind us, hit the car in front of us. It was mayhem. Back then we became real men, real women. Real woman? Real woman? What a weird, why did that sound so weird? Has no one ever said real woman? Real men, real woman. Woman. Those experiences of having to park, they shaped us. They formed us. They gave us resilience. They gave us courage. They allowed us to face whatever fears we might have in our lives. Now you kids are all soft. You just auto park. You have no idea how good you have it.